Hey everybody, I was in the mood to make another video. I've actually been wanting to do this for a while. I wanted to make a video about Asperger syndrome and autism in general. I might even make this one of my misconceptions videos, because I kind of think people have misconceptions about autism in general, but particularly about Asperger's. I think people don't understand I think people, well, first of all, they don't understand how it could be a form of autism, because I think a lot of people tend to think that autism is sort of like a mental retardation. But the fact of the matter is that most people that get diagnosed with autism are usually about average intelligence. Some people that get diagnosed are even above average intelligence. And that leads to me. And I'm only going to mention this once. This is going to be the only video that I'm ever going to mention this on, because I don't like talking about it, because I feel like I'm bragging whenever I mention it. I have a very high IQ. My IQ is 162, which is less than half of a percent of the population has an IQ of 150 or higher, and I'm 162. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that to give you some background information. That's one of the reasons why I seem so normal, whereas a lot of people with Asperger's come off as very strange, very kind of weird. I'm even a little weird. So I mean, it's not and I enjoy being weird. I'm not, I like my uniqueness, and that's one of the things. I think a lot of people want to find some sort of a cure for autism, and I think that frightens a lot of people with Asperger's, because they, and probably a lot of people with autism too, because they like their uniqueness. They like the way that they think, and I think it's important for the public to know that Asperger's is not. It's not so much a disease as it is just a different way that your brain is wired. I read somewhere somebody made the distinction. It's like having Linux instead of Windows or even a Mac. It's difficult to find programs that run on it. But once you do, they work just fine. It's not a defective product. It's just a different way of doing it. It's a different way of working. I wanted to mention. I think I'm going to talk about some of the symptoms of Asperger's and autism in general. One of the things that you might have noticed with me is I don't really look directly into the camera, as a lot of people do. They talk directly to the camera as if it's an audience person, like I'm doing right now. I feel very uncomfortable doing this right now. My eyes are very shifty. I look all over the place. Every once in a while I'll look into the lens and, to make a point or whatever, but I tend to look all over the place rather than directly at the camera. I think that's because subconsciously your mind perceives the camera as a human's eye, and people with Asperger's really have problems making eye contact. However, some people with Asperger's go to the opposite extreme, to where they'll stare incessantly, and it's very kind of disturbing to some people who don't understand, why they're doing that. For a lot of people with Asperger's, it's not like, well, Asperger's is like it's a group of a certain characteristics or traits. It's not so much like if you do this you have it, if you do this you don't. People will there's a term that they like to call autistic spectrum disorder, ASD, which is you tend to fall on the spectrum, and I think that's true not just for autism as a general trait, but I think that's true of all the various different traits within autism. One of those is social ability, which I happen to be pretty good at, although I make some horrible, terrible mistakes sometimes. One of the problems that I have with social is what I was just talking about earlier with the eye contact, but sometimes I say totally the wrong thing at totally the wrong time, and I feel absolutely horrible about it. Afterwards, after I realize what I've done. The problem is I don't have that automatic social programming, I guess, that neurotypicals, that's what people in the autism community call people who have a normally wired brain. Neurotypicals come with this preloaded social program on their hard drive, and I don't really have that. I have to think it through first, and luckily, I'm smart enough to where I can think it through well enough beforehand to where I usually don't make mistakes. Sometimes I do, and it's really hard for me to deal with that emotionally. Now I don't know if it's just if maybe it's my personality or what, but it seems as if maybe it's because I am kind of a people person. I really like people, even though I have very few friends. But I think I've tended to focus more on the social aspect, more developing my social skills rather than academics. Despite the fact of having a high IQ, I did horrible in school. I failed 5th grade. I almost didn't graduate on time, despite the fact of going to summer school every summer for all 4 years I was in high school, including my senior year, which means that I actually graduated in August instead of in June with the rest of my class. I dropped out of 2 different colleges, one community college and one technical college. I know a lot of stuff, and I'm good at figuring things out, but I'm horrible in the way, I guess it's the way that the academic system is set up. I'm horrible at that for some reason. And I guess when I was growing up, I chose to focus more on the social side rather than the academic side. Although I love learning, I wish I could get a job where I could utilize my brain, but because I'm so horrible at school, it doesn't seem possible for me. But anyway, I don't know how long this has run. I'm going to check, and If it's too long, then I'll see you guys later. If it's not, then I'll come back.